Welcome to the June 2023 Eternal Format Tournament. This is a tournament we recorded at Dragon's Lair at Alamo Ranch a couple months back. It was our first Paldea Evolved in real life Eternal Format Tournament, so this was a very fun one for us. We have some very interesting decks now that Archeops and Brock's Ninetales have been banished from the format forever. In fact, you can see on the thumbnail both Banette and Gardevoir managed to make decent showings. And here in round one, we'll have Bunnelby, of all decks, making its debut in the format. So, yeah, let's look at round one, shall we? Here in round one, we have Bunnelby's Stall against Miraidon X. You may be familiar with Miraidon. It's a standard format deck at the moment. The deck that's being played here is a bit different from its standard format counterpart, but the deck will be vaguely familiar all the same. Bunnelby, on the other hand, is from Primal Clash, so may not quite be as familiar to everyone. Bunnelby has an ancient trait called Omega Barrage. This Pokemon may attack twice a turn. If the first attack knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon, you may attack again after your opponent chooses a new active Pokemon. Now, Bunnelby has two attacks, Burrow, which discards the top card of your opponent's deck, and a Rototiller, which shuffles a card from your discard pile into your deck. So the Bunnelby player is going to be abusing these two attacks to try to stall out his opponent and prevent them from winning. Let's watch. Alright, we're starting round one. Players are shuffling up. Looks like we have a mulligan on the Miraidon player's side. To see a Mareep go down there. Mareep with the Fluffy Pillow ability that allows you to put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. Both players have decided they want to show you guys their hands. A little fist bump to get going there, and a draw. Alright, Miraidon player plays down another Mareep and a Pidgey, dropping a Stormy Mountains and immediately going to search the deck with that Stormy Mountains, eyeing a Miraidon using Tandem Unit. Tandem Unit, of course, allows you to search your deck for two basic lightning Pokemon and play them down on your bench. It's kind of a double nest ball for lightning-type Pokemon, assuming you're able to use the ability, and there's not something like Silent Lab or Path of the Peak in play. Silent Lab is a card that is unfortunately banned in this format. It shuts off the abilities of basic Pokemon. Super strong, very good and expanded, a little too strong in Eternal, unfortunately, because of how some of the cards have to be balanced. But that is okay. We are allowed to have strong cards. Just not that one. Alright, so we do go into the Fluffy Pillow. We get the little sleep marker on that Bunnelby. Flipping for sleep, Bunnelby does not stay asleep. Bunnelby player going into play Winona. Winona has him search his deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into his hand. So going to grab some Pokemon here. Getting some interesting stuff. Going to choose to grab a Squovit, another Bunnelby, and I think that's a second Squovit. So going ham on the setup there. I want to make sure they have their resources ready to go. All right, there's the Squovit. There's the other Squovit, and there's Bunnelby. Alrighty then. Going for a Level Ball, searching the deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Floating that Oddish to the front. I love Oddish. Definitely going for that Oddish. Alright, so we are going to see an item locking strategy here. Item lock, of course, fairly good in this format. You do have to work a little bit for it. You can't just get it all freebie, but you can definitely get it. Alright, down goes that Oddish, threatening that turn to item lock. And a Kricketune V. It's not every day we see the Daylele Whoop, but there he is in the flesh. We see a Capture Energy go down on that Bunnelby on the bench. And so we saw a bit of a pass there. No? Seeing something. Oh, it was Nestash. Okay, so Nestash is Squovit's ability. It says shuffle your hand and put it on the bottom of your deck. That's why that hand was offered to be kept. And then draw a card. So it looks like he top decked a Battle Compressor, which is the nuts. We see a Mr. Mime, a Vileplume, and it looks like another Oddish coming out of that battle compressor. So, player here deciding that these cards need to go to the discard pile, perhaps banking on maybe a rescue stretcher to fish that Vileplume back out. Not sure. Alright, we do see the exciting stage for 3. So we do get that off of the Kricketune. And choosing to use that second Nest Stash to go a little further into the deck. Drawing that one card and saying, you know what? Pass. Not going to work. Alright. Miraidon player has a bench full of very shocking Pidgeys. Choosing to evolve one of them into a less shocking Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto from Team Up has the ability Airmail that lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Pick one, put that card into your hand, and put the other on the bottom of your deck. Very nice effect. Extremely good for drawing cards. And when you need to see lots of cards like Miraidon does, it is a great thing to see. Choosing not to take that Electro Power, but definitely choosing the other card, which I think was that Flaffy. There goes the Flaffy. We are seeing that evolution. Alright, having to make choices here. Pokemon wasn't knocked out last turn. Raihan is not live, unfortunately. Making the difficult decision to attach that energy to the active Mareep. Putting the Bunnelby to sleep and passing. Fortunately, that sleep is just not sticking. Capture energy going to the active Bunnelby to power up its attacks. Evolving the bench Greedent up so that it can use the ability on that Greedent. That Greedent is one of the well, I wouldn't even say new necessarily, but maybe not one we see all that much in the standard format. The Greedent here is from Rebel Clash. It has the Greedy Tail ability that says once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Pokemon tool card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So the tool card in question here is going to be Life Dew. So Life Dew is an Ace spec. That's the one of Ace spec in this particular deck. So Life Dew says, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card. So Bunnelby would normally be a 1 prize Pokemon. With Life Dew attached to it, it becomes a 0 prize Pokemon. So even if it is knocked out by the Miraidon player, it doesn't give any prize cards to the Miraidon player. So they don't get to take a prize card for that knockout. It can be pretty devastating when you're trying to win the prize trade. Now, Bunnelby won't be taking knockouts of its own, but it will be burning through resources, kind of milling the deck for Miraidon, and just generally recycling its resources to be especially obnoxious. And I think it's going to be there. All right, got a little bit of a shuffle going. Evolving up into a Kricketune. No, that is not a Kricketune. That is a Gloom. I was about to say, that Oddish had better not be a Kricketune. All right. This Gloom does have the Irresistible Aroma ability. Irresistible Aroma says once during your turn, for your attack, if your opponent's bench isn't full, you may flip a coin. If heads, your opponent reveals their hand, put a basic Pokemon you find there onto their bench. So, bit of an obnoxious sort of Mawile GX-ish effect. You're throwing down a Pokemon from their hand onto their bench. So if they have a basic, you can kind of disrupt them a little bit. Alright, Miraidon throwing down another Pidgeotto, trying to get a little bit more draw out before all the cards in their deck are discarded off of the top with Bunnelby. This Bunnelby stall deck is a little bit slow. Kind of a pseudo-mill, but not quite. Just trying to prevent the Miraidon player from taking prize cards and hope they deck out in the process. It does have a little bit of mill on its own, but not really focused on milling like a deck could be. We do see the Field Blower go into the discard pile and discarding that Life Dew in the process, which is pretty good. All right, now choosing a card. I think they chose a Lightning Energy there. Yeah. All right. Gotta make tough choices. Reap is not doing its job. Choosing to discard an energy from the Reap to put a Pidgey in the active spot. Interesting choice to be sure. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but it did. It's an energy in the discard pile at least. So we do see the attach and the Dynamotor. Yeah, okay, so there wasn't a switch in their hand. I was hoping there was a switch because that would at least make some sense. We do see a boss on that Flaffy, kind of stall it in the active spot. I'm sorry, that's a Guzma. Almost a boss, not quite. So Guzma makes you both sides switch, basically. So you choose a Pokemon on their bench, forces it to the active spot, and then you are also forced to switch. But you choose both Pokemon, so it's not too bad. All right, we see... It's like Adventure Bag getting a Float Stone and a Forest Seal Stone. So Forest Seal Stone is probably going to be played down on that Kricketune to make it live. Float Stone going on the Brazen Tail Greedent. Is it Brazen Tail? I think it's Brazen Tail. I don't remember. Greedy Tail. Brazen Tail's a different one. Yeah, but that does go down on the Kricketune. See a few cards there. Playing a Battle Compressor and a Level Ball. Alright, so cards for the Battle Compressor. Looks like they're choosing to probably grab one of the other Battle Compressors to discard. Thinking, yeah, it's probably not going to be especially helpful. Wow, Rare Candy, Risky Stretcher, and a Battle Compressor. Getting a Lapras off of the Level Ball. As Lapras from Legend Maker. Has a Pokebody that's very similar to our Luminion V in the current standard format. We do see the Forest Seal Stone drop. Forest Seal Stone grabbing something. But what? Not Vileplume. Vileplume would be interesting, but Gloom, I believe, went down this turn, so it's not really a choice. You also need the Rare Candy, which just nuked with the Battle Compressor there. Revitalizer. Okay, that's interesting. That makes sense. Okay, so the Revitalizer, grabbing an Oddish and a Vileplume. So, okay, so the Gloom did not evolve this turn, apparently. We're going to see... Alright, so... The first attack recycled a... Yes. Interesting. So the first attack on the Bunnelby chose to recycle the Life Dew back into the deck. And I think the second attack just discarded a card from the top of the Miraidon player's deck. Alright, so now we're going to see an Airmail here. Can't quite make out which card that is. Okay, that is Fire Red Leaf Green Pidgeot. That is a nice card to see in the hand. So that Pidgeot just says, quick search your deck for a card. So it's basically, it's a Forest Seal Stone every single turn. It's pretty nice. We actually just saw, interestingly enough, a reprint of this card as a 2-prize Pokemon X in our current standard format coming out in Obsidian Flames. So that is actually out tomorrow. I'm recording this about a week ahead. The audio, at least, about a week ahead. So the set will be out officially tomorrow as of this video going live. Should be pretty nice. You do see a Professor's Research. Random player saying, you know what, this hand may be not so great. We'll just nuke it. A little interesting to see that cape go to the discard pile. I think it could have just been attached to the Miraidon. That's where I'd have put it. There's no tool on that Miraidon from what I can tell. You do see an AZ. AZ obviously can't be played right now. It's already played a supporter card this turn, but definitely an option for next turn. Get that Flaffy out of the active spot. Alright, so it is once again Bunnelby's turn. Bunnelby going a little bit ham here. Does have access to the tool card in the deck with Greedy Tail, and I think that's what's being played here. Yep. Do see the use of Greedy Tail. And see that life do be attached to that Bunnelby. Bunnelby recycling a Guzma into the deck and milling a card from the top of Miraidon's deck. And then Miraidon going to grab a card from the top there. Looks like an Ultra Ball. Gonna go ahead and Dynamotor maybe? Yep, choosing the Dynamotor to that Miraidon. I'm gonna play that AZ, I think, maybe. AZ or the Floatstone, either one gets the Flaffy out of the active spot. I think I prefer the AZ because you can use a second Dynamotor. Yeah, there's the AZ. So that puts the Flaffy to the... What are you doing? No, stop. No. Oh, dear. Why you do that? Okay, Floatstone. Okay, that's... whatever, fine. Just make extra steps. Why don't you? Alright, so there is a knockout. No prize cards taken. That Life Dew does prevent the taking of prize cards. But that's okay. Bunnelby goes to the discard pile. And a Vileplume comes to the active spot. Everybody's favorite Vileplume. Do see a bit of a recycling of resources there. With Roseanne's backup. Certainly a good card in this particular deck. Irritating Pollen is the Vileplume in the active spot right now. Each player can't play item cards from their hand. So, do keep in mind that Pokemon Tool cards are no longer item cards. So, unfortunately, that Life Dew can go down under item lock. I say unfortunately. Unfortunately for the Miraidon player. Fortunately for the Bunnelby player. Alright, we are going to see a draw off that Kricketune. Couple cards. Switch that Vileplume to the bench. And recover that Roseanne's maybe? Yep, Roseanne's going back into the deck. And the mill. Alright, so one card down from that deck. Our Miraidon player. Second guessing life at the moment. Maybe a little bit of an airmail to get him by. See, Versus Seeker and a Thunder Mountain Prism Star. Neither one an especially enticing choice at the moment. Make a decision between the two of them. We have chosen to stick with Thunder Mountain Prism Star. At this moment, the Miraidon player needs Guzma. And with that quick search that they're doing right now, they can find something cute like Escape Rope. But unfortunately, under item lock, it's just not going to do the trick. Vileplume is currently saying no to item cards. So something like a Switch or an Escape Rope, not going to do the trick. Without a second Miraidon in play, it's just... there's no dice. Not quite make out the choice there. Choosing to shuffle up. Let's look at the Miraidon. It's not a bad choice, but maybe a little too late at this point. Going to make some sort of choice at this point. See a manual retreat for that Miraidon, just throwing a Mareep into the active spot. And praying that Fluffy Pillow sticks. Alright. Sending that Mareep up. Attaching to Fluffy. Sleep does not stick. Woohoo. We see a Nestash. Tapping, swapping those cards for the top card of the deck. And choosing to grab a couple more with Kricketune. So they forgot to reset their ability to use markers. It's okay. We got that sorted. Using the first airmail to look at the top 2 cards. Now we're looking at... This is a quick suit. Now this is in the hand. Making choices. Alright, now we see that quick search. Quick search for lightning energy just to get something in play. Not really sure what the Maridon player is thinking at the moment. I'm not... Like, their strategy is kind of off, in my opinion. Like, they could have gotten an escape rope a while back, and that would have been very good. They'd have taken some sort of knockout. They haven't gone for any sort of gusting card. I know the deck plays them. They could have gone after the Cricketune, gotten a couple of prize cards. But so far, they've kind of chosen to let the Bumblebee deck just kind of cripple them. I do see that Pidgey come to the active spot. So Bumblebee does have 60 HP. So, like theoretically, there's a world in which with an electro power, you're knocking out the Bumblebee with the Flaffy? But that still feels real bad. Like... You see retreat on the Pidgey, pushing the Maridon to the active spot. The Maridon currently only has 2 energy on it, so we will need to see some sort of attachment to it. I see the Dynamotor to the Flaffy, and a Thunder Mountain drop, so Thunder Mountain will get the attack cost down for that Maridon, and we will see the knockout on that Bumblebee. Once again, though, because of Life Dew, no prize cards are taken. Artisan does come down. The Thunder Mountain does not go in the discard pile. Was caught quite quickly there. Goes to the right above the prize cards where the Lost Zone is placed. Trying some cards off that Cricketune and hitting that Peonia. If I remember right, I want to say this player was saying something critical was prized for their strategy. And that's why the deck ran kind of slow this game. Honestly, for the life of me, I don't remember what that card is. Got a couple cards milled there. It looked like an escape rope and an electro power. Not the best cards to see gone, unfortunately. And with Vileplume in play, item lock is also established, which is very rough. Quick search. Not seeing any boss option, which is not so hot. So there is no gusting, unfortunately. And now, since item lock is in play, there is no Versus Seeker. See a manual retreat into the Flaffy, attaching to that Maridon. Yeah, gotta take that Vileplume out, but without gusting, without repel, there's just no option there. Do you see that Roseanne's backup? 3 cards, Bumblebee, and the Life Dew there coming right back out with the green ability. Greedy Tail. Alright, there is the Life Dew reattached, the active Bumblebee. That's got to be frustrating to play against. See that mill on the Miraidon player's side. And are we going to get a double mill? Or are we just going to... No. So this is going to be a draw and then attack and knockout. Interesting. Still no prize cards taken on either side. Of course, Bunnelby not really taking prize cards. That's not really its role. Just trying to stall out and let the opponent run itself out of resources. Ultimately deck out. Bunnelby still going strong. Making use of those resources, making sure they can draw, and then get into that life dew. And we see a draw, but no energy. I think it was energy that was prized now that I think about it. I think they may have run out of gas at this point. Another Roseanne's backup does restore special energy to the deck, but it's a rough one to have to rely on. There's the energy. We see a double mill there off the Bunnelby. This is a rough one. Are we going to get there? The Mareep in the active spot. That sleep just refusing to stick. But we do see finally that mill just kind of runs Miraidon down. Tons of item cards in the hand. Just can't play them. Can't use any of those item cards thanks to Vileplume. And just run through that deck thanks to Bunnelby. Alright, that is round 1. We'll be right back for round 2. Up next, we have in round 2, Banette Houndoom versus Miraidon Pidgeot. So, Banette Houndoom is probably one of the best decks in the format. Certainly a contender for the best deck in the format at the moment. Banette has an attack called Poltergeist that does damage for each trainer card in your opponent's hand. And Houndoom says, so long as you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent does, they can't use any sort of trainer except a supporter card. So it makes it very difficult for them to get rid of their items, their stadiums, their Pokemon tools. All in all, it just makes a real pain in the neck for them to try to use their trainer cards, and it makes Banette hit like a truck. Miraidon, on the flip side, is very similar to its standard counterpart in that it tries to set up, tries to get some energy, and tries to go crazy. However, in the Eternal format, at least as of the time of this tournament's recording, both Electric Generator and Max Elixir were banned. As of the Obsidian Flames update, both of them have been removed from the ban list, but in this particular tournament, and in the one in July, I look forward to that one later, those cards were banned. So the way to power up Miraidon in this particular deck is with Flaffy and Dynamotor, and then you just kind of have some very good consistency with the Delta species Pidgey evolving up into Quick Search Pidgeot, which conveniently we now have a pseudo reprint of as Pidgeot X in Obsidian Flames. With that little bit of information out of the way, let's look at this game here in round 2. Alright, let's watch our players get shuffled up. Get them ready to move on into this round. Should be a fun one. This is going to be Banette and Miraidon. So the Banette player is on the left, the Miraidon player on the right. So we got a bit of a mulligan going on there. Hopefully both these players get set up nice and well so they don't have to have a quick game. But another mulligan! Yay, hooray. The thing about not playing a whole lot of basics is sometimes you mulligan and then sometimes you mulligan even more. It's like we get, I think that was an Azelf start. Yep, that's an Azelf start. Not the greatest start for that player, although they do see several ball search cards, so that's not the worst. There's a quick ball. I think I saw a level ball in there too, so yeah, that's actually not that bad of a start. Starting Azelf isn't great because you want to be able to use it to pull stuff out of your prize cards, but that's not too bad. So I believe it's Time Walk is the Pokepower. Basically, when you play it down onto your bench, you can look through your prize cards, pull a Pokemon out, and put a card from your hand there to replace it. So it's pretty good stuff. Alright, so the Miraidon player is going ham getting set up. Got 2 of the Delta species Pidgey, a Miraidon, 3 of the Delta species Pidgey now with that level ball, and the Miraidon and a Mareep down. Interesting that they're really focusing on Pidgey specifically. Really wanting that draw. They're gonna in this deck, the deck uses the Team Up Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto from Team Up has the ability Airmail. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck, you put one of them into your hand and put the other on the bottom of your deck. So good draw. And then of course that Pidgeotto evolves up into Quick Search Pidgeot, which was mentioned earlier in the intro to this round. And that card is wonderful. Actually, I think you saw it right there in his hand. It was Pidgeotto. No, can't quite tell. But Pidgeotto, or Pidgeot rather, just says search your deck for a card, put it in your hand. So it's a 4 CO zone every single turn just for having Pidgeot in play. It's pretty phenomenal. And then this version of the deck in the future may run the other Pidgeot also. So you basically have a Starbirth every turn. I will say the deck, though, as is probably going to change pretty drastically with the introduction of Max Elixir and Electric Generator into the format. I know myself, I'm planning to construct a very turbo version of Miraidon focused around Max Elixir, focused around that Electricity Generator, just trying to get energy in play as quickly as possible. Throw that Thunder Mountain Prism Star down, just go, 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 go. Take some early prize cards, knock out some Houndours before they get a chance to evolve into a Houndoom, and then just go from there. Alright. Do you see the pass off to the Miraidon player? I'm going to see that Pidgeotto come down. And a level ball. Have to imagine going for another Pidgeotto, so they're just, you know what, let's get some setup going. And they are indeed going to get some setup. Oh, wow. Okay. So I blinked while I was describing a little bit earlier. The Azelf actually managed to take a knockout, knocked out the Pidgey that had been in the active spot. So the Miraidon Pidgeot player is actually down a Pidgey already. So not a great start to the game, losing a Pidgey to an Azelf no less. That Muscle Band doing its job to go up to that 40 damage that Pidgey has for HP. Pidgey, that specific Pidgey is the one you have to run for the deck because it's an electric type, it's a lightning type in the TCG, which is what you need for Miraidon to be able to find it. But unfortunately, that 40 HP really hurts in situations like this one where a simple muscle band can end you. It's brutal. All right, we do see an Ultra Ball. Perhaps to find a Flaffy. Eyeing up that Tapu Koko Prism Star. Choosing to get the Tapu Koko Prism Star. Very interesting. I would have probably tried getting the Flaffy, if only to try to get some energy onto that Miraidon as quickly as possible. And they are getting the Tapu Koko, so they're intending to get energy at least, but it does feel a little eh. Yeah, Field Blower takes out the Muscle Band. No sneaky Pidgey knockouts going forward here. See, manual attachment on the Miraidon. Just need that Thunder Mountain. Choosing to use Fluffy Pillow to put the Azelf to sleep. Looks a little bit of confusion there. Fluffy Pillow does not put the Mareep to sleep. That is an Airmail, looks like we're looking at right there. Oh, there is a Thunder Mountain in play already. So now the Miraidon player just needs a switch out. So some sort of way to get that Mareep out of the active spot. A U-turn board, a float stone, some sort of switch. I know the deck for sure runs both U-turn board and float stone. Both are very good in the deck. Going for a luxury ball. Going for a Flaffy. Okay. I mean, the manual attachment could have gone to the Mareep before it evolved. And then just... I mean, then you wouldn't get the attachment out of the... I mean, but you don't really need it. I don't know. That feels not so great. Okay. We do see another Shuppet come down on the bench. No, that's not another Shuppet. I forgot. The active spot is still the Azelf. We do see the Shuppet come down on the bench. So we do have a Shuppet getting ready to become a Banette. So that Banette will become the bane of Miraidon's existence. This deck is actually setting up quite slowly. Usually Banette is just a threat almost immediately out of the gate. So Miraidon players had a chance to use their trainer cards to play the game. Usually by turn 2, you're just done. Banette just locks you, and if you've gone wide at all, your game is over. Choosing a card to use. Can't use a Battle VIP Pass. No longer turn 1. Just hitting into the Mareep. Doing just a little bit of damage there with the Azelf. Resetting the abilities. Choosing to go back in with that Airmail. Digging a little bit further into the deck. Probably looking for a Float Stone. Gotta find some way to get that Flaffy out of the active spot. It's really rough having that guy in the active spot with that 2 retreat. Very good effect, but unfortunately it's just not great. Oh. Something to be, actually something I'd forgotten, and it's worth noting. So Azelf, that attack that it uses is Lock Up. It does 20 damage, and the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. So now even with a Float Stone, Flaffy cannot retreat. There would have to be an actual switch or a Guzma to get that card out of the active spot. Alright. Do you see the Banette in play? Just another hit with Lock Up on the Azelf. Just kind of chipping away at that Flaffy. So we have the option there of a Pidgeotto, and it looks like the Pidgeot. Probably going to go with a Pidgeot if I had to guess. Just get that quick search going. No. Didn't choose to put it down immediately. We're going to go down and use the ability first. There is an escape rope. That will do the trick. That is pretty good. Definitely got to play the escape rope. Unfortunately, his board is wider than the Houndoom players, so escape rope is not currently playable. In fact, the only thing that's playable at the moment is supporter cards, which feels really bad because now the Float Stone can't go down either. Just kind of a rough one. At this point, he just has to wait for the Flaffy to be KO'd. This is going to eventually go down. Wait for the Flaffy to be KO'd. Just have it chipped away at by that Azelf. And then once it's KO'd, use Quick Search, find the Float Stone, put it on something so that it's in play, maybe a new Mareep, and then evolve that up into a Flaffy, and then start attacking with the Miraidon. The problem is, with Banette Houndoom, once they set up, you gotta play real carefully or you lose. All right, switching back to the Banette player. Weighing options. I see a Guzma in the hand. That's always fun. And I pass back on a back. See that Guzma come down maybe? Take out that Miraidon before he has a chance to even attack with it. That would be very devastating. Although it looks like the Miraidon players kept their hand down pretty small. So this is one of the advantages of Rocket's admin. So unlike N, where you have to draw a number of cards equal to the number of prize cards you have remaining, with admin you can actually specifically choose to draw fewer cards. So you may only want to draw just one, for example, even though you have 6 prize cards remaining. And because of the up to clause on Rocket's admin, you can do that. And in a situation where you're playing against Bayonet, that may be the difference between winning and not winning. Because if you can prevent the Bayonet from taking a knockout with a bunch of trainer cards in your hand, you're going to need it. This is a real disadvantage of using those airmails over and over and over again, is the hand just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. AZ does the trick. AZ scoops up that Flaffy. We do see the Mareep come down, so the player relocking himself, he could have played down some of the cards in his hand before putting that Mareep back down. That would have put him back at equal footing with the Houndoom Bayonet player, allowing him to play some item cards, some tool cards, just cards in general. Kind of thin his hand down in preparation for that Bayonet coming in with the Poltergeist. Unfortunately, now he does have an Electro Power in hand and a Level Ball. Level Ball could have been played, even just burned. That would have been better, but I would have probably gone for a Flaffy or another Mareep, just something to have that isn't a trainer card. Is that the... Yeah, a couple... That's not a Level Ball. What do we have? It's really hard to see on this video, unfortunately, exactly what they've got. So, for context, I'm recording with a preview of the video. I don't quite get to see the full res. But we do see... Yeah, that is the hand. So the Level Ball, the Research, and the Electric Power. So that's going to be 180 damage off that Poltergeist. Could have been reduced just by burning the Level Ball after that Mareep knockout, but... Or after not the knockout, but the AZ play. But, oh well. Unfortunately, that was not a play that was explored. So we do see a Flaffy come back down. So that is now, once again, a live option for the Miraidon player. It's like a Lightning Energy and a U-turn board. U-turn board very, very good, but not playable at the moment. The difficult situation with Eternal is Eternal does allow for more control, stall, wall, control options than Standard usually does. So when they do pop up in Eternal, players that are used to primarily playing Standard format may not be as comfortable playing against it as they would be, or as it could be, perhaps. And especially with a control archetype like Bayonet, where it is still a very aggressive deck, it can be pretty threatening. Alright. We are seeing a deck search. It does look like this is the quick search off the Pidgeot. So the player is choosing to find a card in the deck. As long as it's not a trainer card. Although I'm not sure how much it's going to matter with the Houndoom almost certainly being knocked out this turn. But... Alright. A bit of a draw there. And a retreat into the benched Miraidon. The benched Miraidon Has 2 energy of the 3 needed to attack, but Thunder Mountain does make it so that it will attack for just 2 energy. So we'll be able to get that KO, not the KO, but a hit, a fairly significant hit in against that Bennett. Unfortunately, when you're item locked, you're not able to play your electro powers, which does mean that you're not able to take those easy one shots that you would be able to otherwise take. Does also take the recoil damage from that horror psychic energy that's attached to Bennett. So that already having to deal with trying to take out a huge Pokemon like Bennett, and then getting smacked in the face with its little quills when you do. Alright, we see a Versus Seeker coming down for a Professor's Research. Professor's Research is being played. Nuke in hand, saying, you know what, screw this, let's get something else. Surely there's something better I could be seeing. See a Psychic Energy come down on the bench. Bennett player realizing this Bennett is probably going to go down. That other Miraidon will come right back up and just take the KO. And indeed that is what happens. Miraidon being KO'd. Pidgeot going to the active spot. Pidgeot does have free retreat, so that's a good play. Gives that Flaffy an opportunity to use Dynamotor onto the Miraidon. Does need to play it onto the Miraidon. What is he doing? Okay. Choosing the Dynamotor instead onto the Flaffy by the look of it. Maybe I can't quite tell how much HP Bennett has left, but I do think it might be Flaffy range away. Although I don't know that I would be attacking with Flaffy all the same. So Bennett has 250 HP, and Miraidon's attack, that is Phantom Blaster, does 220. So it is possible that if you've powered up the Flaffy, you could go in with it and attack, and then just take the KO, right? So Flaffy's attack is Electro Ball, does 50 damage. That would, of course, fill the gap, make it possible to take the KO. Just see a Raihan. Raihan is played attaching to the Pidgeot. So choosing maybe to go in with a Pidgeot for the attack instead. Pidgeot has the attack clutch, which will do 40 damage. So 220 plus the 40 is 260, which is more than that 250. So we'll take a KO. Just need 2 energy to do that. Clutch, if it doesn't take the knockout, also, that Pokemon won't be able to retreat. So just like a Zelf in that respect. But are we going to see the knockout here? Yes, we are. Bennett goes down to Pidgeot. So Pidgeot going to go down here very quickly with that active Bennett. There's no way that's going to stick around for very long. I do see a Raihan in the Bennett player's hands, so that has to be coming down. Yep. We see an attachment to the active Bennett. So now that player can search their deck for another card. Just have at it. You see a Horror Psychic Energy being pulled out of the deck and attached to the benched Shuppet, getting that one also ready to just come back in and rain absolute terror. Alrighty. Electric Ball queued up, maybe? Is there a reason to put Electric Ball right now? I don't think so. The Shuppet just came down, right? So there's no real reason to grab it except to preemptively protect yourself from an N or some other form of disruption. But just looks like that Bennett's going to take the knockout on Pidgeot and not really worry about anything else. Alright, we do see Pidgeotto go to the active spot. Let's see. Is the Miraidon player still going to treat this like they're locked? Nope, they realize. Alright, so they do play the Electro Power. They're playing all their things right now. Playing the U-turn board, playing the Cape of Toughness. playing computer search. They're burning their hand, getting rid of a bunch of trainer cards. They do realize they're no longer under lock. Making plays, seeing that escape rope. Interesting. I don't know about playing the escape rope right now, but they may choose to. Getting rid of a couple of stadium cards. Just burning all the trainer cards out of their hand as quickly as they can while they can. All right, they've played down a Mareep. So they've relocked themselves. I'm assuming that means they've played it down. Did put it on what looks to be the bench. Yep, it is on the bench, so they're back to being locked. There's just 2 escape ropes in their hand. And there goes the Banette. So that electric power does make the difference. All right. See an attachment to the active Shuppet. That puts the 2 energies necessary for Poltergeists. And we're going to see a Green's Exploration. So Green's Exploration has the effect of, so long as you have no Pokemon in play with an ability, you can search your deck for any 2 trainer cards and put them into your hand. In this particular case, the Banette player has chosen to get Muscle Band, a Pokemon tool card, and Field Blower, an item card. So Muscle Band increases the damage of Banette by 20, and then Field Blower removes that Cape of Toughness. So unfortunately for the Miraidon player, both those little things are no longer available. And interesting play could have been to Field Blower the U-turn board back to that player's hand, because that would have been a plus 60 damage. But it does look, unfortunately, like that is going to be the end of this one. Banette has taken the game. All right. We'll be back in just a second with round 3. All right, in round 3, we have Banette returning once again to take on Gardevoir. So this is a very interesting take on Gardevoir using the Surprise Time Machine, Rocket's secret machine from Team Rocket Returns. So Banette, we saw last round, so I'm going to go a little bit more depth into Gardevoir, the intro here. So Surprise Time Machine says choose one of your evolved Pokemon, remove the highest stage evolution card from it, and shuffle it into your deck. This counts as devolving that Pokemon. If that Pokemon remains in play, search your deck for an evolution card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon. This counts as evolving that Pokemon. Shuffle your deck afterward. So the way this card works in Gardevoir is if you have one Gardevoir in play, but you want a different Gardevoir in play, you say, I'm going to Surprise Time Machine, smack, and then you're going to get the Gardevoir that you actually want out of your deck and onto that Kirlia. So you go from a Kirlia, from a Gardevoir of some merit, devolve to the Kirlia, and then re-evolve using Surprise Time Machine. Makes it for a very interesting toolboxy deck, one that unfortunately has a pretty crippling weakness, and that is item lock. So Surprise Time Machine is treated as an item card, which does mean that Houndoom locks it up. So if Gardevoir goes wide, which it is wont to do, it makes it a rough situation. This is going to be a repeating theme throughout this particular tournament. Banette is a menace. It needs to be beaten, but will it be? That's the question. All right, on to round 3. All right, both players getting shuffled up. Again, this is Banette versus Gardevoir. Gardevoir is a very interesting deck in this format. One that unfortunately has quite a weakness to Banette Houndoom, but we shall see. All right, players starting Shuppet and Mr. Mime, respectively. Mr. Mime, an unfortunate start for Gardevoir. See an attachment of Horror Psychic Energy to that Shuppet. And in a little bit of deja vu, I think we're going to see that Muscle Band come down. We sure are. No attack, though, because the Banette player is going first. So the Guardy player is going to get a chance to do play an in. Going straight for the in. Right. That is not an Iono. There we go. Player realized right before they were about to throw things on the bottom. Not that it's not fixable, thankfully. Iono is a little bit more fixable than... doing an Iono when you're supposed to be doing an in is a lot more fixable than doing an in when you're supposed to be doing an Iono. That's the way to put that. Players drawing back up. See a bit of an overdraw on the Banette player's side. They're showing me the overdraw, giving them a quick bit of 2 prize information. So that is going to be a DPL on the Banette player's side for overdraw. Alright, we are going to see 2 level balls on the Guardy side. Alright. At least the Guardy player is getting a chance to set up, although going wider than Houndoom Bennett is maybe not the best idea, although unfortunately with that Mr. Mime in the active, it's very difficult not to. Making a decision about what to discard. Going to get rid of a rescue stretcher, trying to find... Maybe going in preemptively for a Curlia. Yep. Getting a Curlia preemptively and passing. And Bennett immediately evolves up and attaches an energy. Oh dear. Goes for a Green's Exploration. I see a float stone being floated to the top. And the Evolution Incense. Evolution Incense absolutely going to get the Houndoom. There's no way it won't. Looking at a Faba. Choosing to get a Faba and an Evolution Incense, and then playing the Evolution Incense to almost certainly grab that Houndoom. There's the Houndoom. Houndoom goes down. Let me just see. Is that Eternal Darkness? Okay, Weakness knockout. And Houndoom is currently not active. They both have the same number of Pokemon in play. Gardevoir making tough decisions in hand by the look of it about what to discard with Refinement. Taking a while on the decision. Maybe a little too long. Definitely a little too long. Come on, Guardy player, you got this. Discarding a rare candy, drawing 2 cards off of Refinement. Evolving the active to a Curlia and drawing 2 more cards for Refinement. And then playing a Level Ball, probably in search of another card to relock themselves with Houndoom. I mean, another bench Pokemon. They are getting the Mew from Celebrations. Mysterious Tail. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck and find an item card there. Or reveal an item card you find there. And put it into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Fairly good little consistency card in Standard. Maybe a little underwhelming in Eternal. But it is searchable via Mysterious Treasure, which is good. It's also searchable via Fog Crystal. Alright. Starting their turn, discarding a Battle VIP Pass with Quick Ball. Probably getting another Shuppet down. Yep. Looks like they're getting a Shuppet. Grabbing... No, going for a Lapras. Interesting. And then choosing Lapras? Yeah. Maybe deciding they're going to play a Faba. I don't know what they'll be hitting with Faba this turn, though. Interesting. Just going to go for the KO again. Guardy not having a good time against Bennett. Bennett just kind of ramming into it like nothing's happening. Do you see the Mysterious Tail Mew come down? Fortunately, Mysterious Tail Mew, well, it will find an item. It's a very limited time frame for that item to be useful. Good thing is they are matching bench sizes at the moment, so items are available. They just won't be if he plays any cards down on the bench. Do you see a Luxury Ball come down? So it looks like the Luxury Ball may have been the choice there. I have to think the best course of action at this moment is probably to get the the Delta species Gardevoir to use Imprison to shut off Houndoom. If you can do that and get the Gardevoir into the active spot, Imprison will completely nullify Lonesome. Yeah, there's the Gardevoir. He does have to find a way to get it into the active spot. Now, the Banette player is aware of this and is probably going to do everything in their power to not knock out the Mew, but we shall see. Unfortunately, for Imprison, you do have to be in the active spot. Okay, so we are seeing a manual retreat on the Mew. We're going to see the evolution and Imprison. All right, it's a poison marker, but we know what it is. It's Imprison. The good thing is that means that the Gardevoir player can now go wide because that Houndoom is shut down. This is the one way that A deck has a way to deal with Houndoom. Gardevoir player actually playing this fairly well, considering their rough start. Let's see a Mysterious Treasure come down, discarding an Escape Rope for a Ralts. And a pass. Houndoom player going to draw. I have to imagine they're going to put down the other Houndour. Got to get another Houndoom set up and then knock out, and beforehand knock out that Guardy. Discarding a level ball off of that quick ball, digging through the deck for, looks like Lapras. I'm curious what Lapras would be finding. Eyeing up Faba, looking at Will. Okay, getting Lapras, using Support Navigation. Support Navigation is a Pokepower that, okay, not playing it yet. It's a Pokemon power that allows you to find a supporter card and put it into your hand. So if you're familiar with Luminous Sign on Luminion V in current standard format, that is very much the same effect. Lapras just happens to be the original. The great thing about Lapras is it's searchable via Level Ball and via Quick Ball. So, good stuff. Alright, it looks like the Gardevoir player tried to play an item card under Everlasting Darkness, so that was an item card under item lock. Unfortunately, that means there would have been a double prize penalty, and the Gardevoir player is already too far behind at this point. They feel like they can't win, so they're just going to concede, and we will move on to the finals. Alright, it just so happens that our players that played in round 3 were also the top rated players, and will be advancing to the finals. So, in this case, the finals are, once again, Banette Houndoom versus Gardevoir. Let's jump right in. Alright, let's look at game 1 of the finals here. Again, this is Houndoom Banette versus Gardevoir. Gardevoir, ooh, that's a rough start. Gardevoir starts with Espeon and Deoxys GX. Great card in a lot of matchups, especially the Lost Link box and Lost Box matchups here in Eternal, but not a great Pokemon to see when you're trying to start the game, especially when your bench is so sensitive to lock, like against Banette. We see that Muscle Bound coming down turn 1 yet again for the Banette player. Do you see the energy attachment? Green's Exploration looking for some cards here. I'm going to find, it looks like a Battle VIP pass. And a Professor Letter? Yeah. So getting that Battle VIP pass, going to grab a couple cards off of it, probably a Houndour, and if I had to imagine another Shuppet, perhaps? Or maybe just forgo it. Getting a second Shuppet, saying, you know what, you're going to have to go wide if you want to do anything. Maybe second guessing that. Choosing not to get the Shuppet after all. Going to keep it narrow. Or not. Make up your mind. All right. We do see the Shepherd come down after all. There is a shuffle, so that is final. All right. We're going to see a pass. Looks like it. Nope. Yes. Okay, so going in for a lock. So that Shuppet has an attack that on a coin flip does item lock. Did not quite make out the result of the flip there, but looks like it may have been successful. We do see Green's Exploration going into the deck once again. Grabbing a level ball, almost certainly get Houndoom. So level ball and luxury ball, playing both cards. Grabbing that Houndoom and the Binette. Saving the Evolution Instance for later. Playing the Professor's Letter. Getting a Psychic Energy ×2. It's actually nice to see Professor's Letter see a little bit of play. It's such a good card. I know Energy Search is the staple in current standard, but my golly, would it be nice to just have a Professor's Letter back. Alright. See some damage pile up on there. Looks like the Binette player has chosen to use Everlasting Darkness instead of going for the knockout, or trying to go for the knockout. Interesting, they're not trying to go for the hand reveal, because there's not a whole lot of damage there. So playing the Iono, disrupting the hand a little bit there. Now both players do have the same bench size, so at the moment, the only way to keep a lock on Gardevoir is to continue using Everlasting Darkness, which is almost certainly why the Binette player used Everlasting Darkness instead of trying to go for a knockout. Do see an attachment on that benched Kirlia, and a pass. That second Shuppet now evolved up into a Binette. Looking at the hand there, eyeing up that Green's Exploration. Using the Versus Seeker to grab Green's Exploration and digging through that deck to find... Wait, through the deck. Oh yes, playing the Green's Exploration to find Fab and Raihan. So just going for two different supporters, not even trying to get items or anything fancy, just going straight for some supporters to maybe find them useful later. Alright, taking a KO. Taking 3 prize cards off of that Espioxys. That is ouch. Kirlia putting in a little bit of damage as much as it can manage. Gardevoir failing to set up this game. That is really unfortunate. Houndoom is still not active, but Everlasting Darkness is doing the job all by itself. Gardevoir just trying to hang in there. Trying to see if it can maybe manage something. That Everlasting Darkness is keeping Gardevoir locked, making it impossible to do anything. Okay, so Everlasting Darkness was apparently not used this last turn. That was, in fact, the KO attack. So Poltergeist was what was used. I missed that, apparently. So that item lock is not an establishment. We do see Surprise Time Machine come down once and then again. So switching a Kirlia for a Kirlia. Changing the Pokemon. So because that Kirlia does leave play, it does reset the Pokemon that was there. So that refinement is able to be used a second time. Choosing to... Something violent within, that's all I know. It doesn't look like they're playing it? They are playing it, okay. So the Gardevoir player is playing and trying to drop the Houndoom player down a few cards. I see a Ralt come down and a level ball. Level ball going for the Ditto Prism. Okay, so Ditto Prism Star has Almighty Evolution, allows it to evolve into any stage 1 Pokemon, which is a very, very great ability. Basically serves as a 5th Ralt for this deck. Also see Floatstone come down on the benched Bennett. At this point, it almost feels like the Bennett player is just kind of picking on the Gardevoir player. Saying, you know, I know you can't do much of anything, but let me just ensure that you never get a chance to knock out enough to get anywhere. So, Kirlia doesn't have any way to... Okay, so there's going to be a reset that way. Yeah, just using that Guzma to KO the Ditto Prism to get another prize card on the way to victory for game 1. See Refinement getting rid of that Azelf. Only the one Refinement available this turn. Not really sure what can be done at this point. I do play the Gardevoir down. There should be energy in the discard pile for this. 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to see the 190. And we see an in. Back-to-back ins on back-to-back turns. How convenient. So an in, a Guzma, and an in. Alright. Fresh hand with lots and lots of trainer cards. Something nice and juicy for Poltergeist to eat at. Playing that Versus Seeker. Going for Guzma and playing the Guzma. Going after the Ralts. Or not? Not. Oh, that was the last prize card. Okay. That must be the case. So that would have been an Espioxus, a Kirlia, and the Ralts. So yeah, playing down that Ralts may be not the best choice in that particular instance. But we're going to get shuffled up for game 2. Alright. Both players resetting. That Guzma for game off that Versus Seeker. Very, very fun. It's been a minute since that combo's been possible in Standard. Alright, we see... No! It's a Mr. Mime start again. How dare you? Why, Kirlia? Why? Gardevoir, Kirlia, and Ralts just don't want to show up for play, it looks like. We see a Mew come down on the bench, trying to find something to set up with. Do you see the Luxury Ball? What is that hand? Oh, that was the... Okay, that was from the Mysterious Tail on the Mew. I was going to say, that's a great hand. But that wasn't the hand. That was the Mysterious Tail. Alright. So we see the attachment on the Shuppet. And a Quick Ball. Alright. Kind of eyeing up a card here. Going for that Lapras and getting a Will. That is a bold strategy for turn 1. Playing Will. So Will basically allows you to choose the result of a coming up coin flip. So in this particular case, the player playing Houndoom is going to specifically choose to flip heads for the effect of Shuppet's attack. So Shuppet's attack normally would require you to flip a heads in order to get an item lock established against your opponent. So because you just want to make that item lock guaranteed turn 1 going, so their turn 2, but your turn 1. You flip a heads on the wheel or you force a heads on the wheel. I'm going to try that one more time. You force the flip to be a heads using will, so that enveloping shadow still does the 10 damage, but guarantees the item lock. So now, even though Houndoom isn't in play yet, it's already more difficult for the Gardevoir player to continue to set up because the item lock is already established. So we see a rearrangement of prize cards there via a Zelf. And an Iono. Iono, a very strong card, even in the Eternal format. Definitely one of the better disruption cards in the history of the Pokemon trading card game. Especially one of the best disruption supporter cards for hand disruption. We see another attachment on that Shuppet and an immediate evolution up into Bayonet. The Bayonet player is a little wider than usual, but they don't really care because Gardevoir has just gone ham setting up and is full width, going a full bench already, just hoping for that Mew to get knocked out. Alright. Looks like the Houndoom player is looking at discarding something with Quick Ball, making a choice. Choosing not to do anything with a Quick Ball, just hitting in with Everlasting Darkness, keeping that item lock in play. Using Refinement to draw a couple cards, discarding that Battle VIP pass. And another in. So we have lots of hand disruption on this Gardevoir list. Just trying to keep their opponent's hand under control. Unfortunately for them, that Bayonet list likes to keep your hand under control in a different sort of way. But you see a third refinement, discarding a Guzma to draw 2 more cards. The Gardevoir player very much needs to find the Gardevoir with Imprison to shut off that Houndoom. That would help a lot because that would force the Bayonet player down to only 4 Pokemon on the bench, effectively, making it so that even though so to clarify. Basically, if that Houndoom on the bench has Imprison on it, its lonesome Pokemon power, or Pokebody rather, won't take effect for the Gardevoir player, which forces the player playing Houndoom Bayonet to find another Houndoom to lock up everything else in the Gardevoir player's hand. So they either can use Everlasting Darkness on repeat, or they can find another Houndoom. If they find another Houndoom, that makes it very easy for the Gardevoir player to try to get around that, because they just need to have 4 or fewer bench Pokemon, and that's very easy to do if you just get a Pokemon knocked out. That gives them a chance to set up. However, it does look like it's a Refinement City right now, trying to dig for some sort of help here. Gardevoir, definitely the target. Gardevoir does not want to come out to play, it would appear. Just digging and digging and digging. Two psychic energies coming out of the discard pile. do see a Gardevoir X in hand there. There's the evolution. So we do see Psychic Embrace available to the Gardevoir player. That is definitely something. That is good to see. They're going to be able to at least attach some energies to something in play. They only have 2 in play, though, at the moment. So, yeah, another hand disruption card. Iona going down again. See that Houndoom enter the Houndoom player's hand. So as long as they have another Houndour in their deck, even if that Houndoom on the bench gets hit with Imprison, they'll be able to set another one up. Alright, so we see the energy doubling Gardevoir go down on the bench, and Incandescent Arcana go down into the active spot. So that's now effectively 4 energy attached to Incandescent Arcana Gardevoir. So that Gardevoir's attack will be doing a little bit of extra damage. It's good to see, but it may be a little too late. So Brainwave does 60 damage plus 30 for each psychic energy attached to that Gardevoir. So you're looking at, with 4 energy, now there's 4 energy actually attached to it. So that's quite a lot, actually. That's going to be 8 because of the energy doubling on the energy doubling Gardevoir. So 8 times 30 is 210, plus the 60 is 270, which is enough to knock out that Banette. We do see a Clara come back. And the Banette comes right back with it. See a Floatstone on the Lapras. And playing a Quick Ball. Discarding the Houndoom, choosing not to bother with it. It's late enough in the game, they don't think they care. They're already fairly well ahead. They do seem to think something's prized, perhaps. Going for the Azelf, perhaps to thin the deck, but maybe they think something important is locked up in the prize cards. There's a Shuppet in their hands that probably isn't a Shuppet. Maybe a Banette. And you see a Poltergeist, and that Shining Arcana Gardevoir is now knocked out. You see the Azelf promoted to the active spot, and a draw. So at this point, the Gardevoir player needs to prize Time Machine times 2, because the best course of action at this point would be to find a Shining Arcana Gardevoir in the deck, use it to... Oh, this is complicated. They would have to swap the energy doubling Gardevoir with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, use Psychic Embrace to power up that Gardevoir, and then use a second Surprise Time Machine to take the Gardevoir X out of play and put the doubling one back into play. But that is quite a feat. Alright, looking at the number of cards in hand. Just not sure what's going on there. They're discussing the hand size. Ooh. We do see a triple, or is it a, oh crap, I can't remember. What is the name of that energy? It's a Prism Star energy, and I can't remember the name of it right now. Super Boost Energy. I knew it was boost something. Super Boost Energy. Super Boost Energy says, this card provides colorless energy. While this card is attached to a Stage 2 Pokemon, it provides every type of energy but only provides 1 at a time. If you have 3 or more Stage 2 Pokemon in play, it provides every type of energy but provides 4 at a time. So at the moment, there are only 2 Stage 2 Pokemon in play, so it's just a single colorless energy, which is really not ideal. So that Gardevoir just giving a little love tap to the Banette. Do you see the Faba come down to take away that Super Boost energy? And an attachment on the bench, Shuppet. And a Poltergeist. Based on the hand reveal, there's no way that's not a knockout. Alright, this is Editor Basil. That was absolutely a knockout. That should have been a KO. That should have been 2 prize cards for the Banette player. The math was off when they were calculating this, so just be aware of that. So the confusion here comes from a little bit of miscalculation. They were calculating the Poltergeist damages 50 times for whatever reason. Initially it was calculated correctly by the Banette player, and then it was miscalculated by the Gardevoir player, and then the Banette player never corrected it. So fortunately this kind of got muddled a bit, and this game did end up being affected by this miscalculation, and I did not catch it as the judge sitting right next to them, which frustrates me. But that said, let's go ahead and continue the game. So the Gardevoir player did choose to retreat the Gardevoir with what they thought was 20 HP left, and they go ahead and attach to the Espeoxys to put 3 Psychic Energy cards from this card pile onto that Espeoxys, and then because of the Gardevoir on the bench with the energy doubling, Espeon and Deoxys is able to make full use of its GX attack. And Espeon and Deoxys GX attack is Cross Division GX, which says put 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. If this Pokemon has at least 3 extra energy attached to it, in addition to this attack's cost, put 20 damage on them instead. You can't use more than 1 GX attack in a game. So with 20 damage counters, it's just going to kind of sprinkle on the bench, or take out the active Banette and then one of the bench Pokemon or 2 of the bench Pokemon, depending on how you drop those damage counters. And that's pretty much game. So my guess is they would probably go for the active Banette and the Shuppet. I know the Banette doesn't have a lot of HP left. Can't quite tell with the screen that I have at the moment, but I know it's not very much. So the Houndoom Banette player is going to choose to scoop this game. Again, unfortunately, this game was affected by a miscalculation, but we're going to go to a game 3. All right, let's get shuffled up for game 3, our final game of the finals. Again, currently Banette, Houndoom, and Gardevoir are tied 1-1. So get them shuffling up. Let's see a mulligan or 2, it looks like. Yep, there's the first. Hopefully we have a nice, good, clean game with no miscalculations. Alright, we see a Houndour start. Do see a Floatstone, which is good. Quick Ball, getting rid of a Versus Seeker. Gotta go for a Shuppet, I have to imagine. Yeah, missed that first Shuppet, but went for the second. Do a little bit of price checking on the way. Attaching an energy to the Shuppet and a Floatstone to the Houndour. I both love and don't love the attachment to the Houndour there with the Floatstone. I don't remember for certain, but I think this Gardevoir list does run a Field Blower, which kind of is a risky move. But at the same time, if they're running an In or an Iono, you risk running or losing that Floatstone anyway, so it's a bit of a rough call. Do you see the Battle VIP pass come down? So we see the Ralt and a Ditto Prism Star. And another Ralts. So I believe that Ditto Prism was a starter Pokemon. Do need to see what kind of strategy this game can show off. So we do see the preemptive Kirlia. Very afraid of that item lock. That is definitely coming. There is already an energy on that Shuppet. There is already a Floatstone on that Houndour. We do see a pass. So you see a Muscle Band attachment to the Shuppet. We do see an energy off of that. Just need to get a there's a Houndoom or a Banette. Either one. Do you see that second energy attachment to the Shuppet? An energy or evolution incense. Probably going for the Banette. Yeah, going for the Banette. Getting a knockout here just to slow Gardevoir player down a little bit. Probably better than getting a lockout already. I think it's probably possibly the lockout anyway. Just using Everlasting Darkness honestly might be fine here. Not taking the knockout. Because Everlasting Darkness is going to do 60. So, I believe these results have 70 HP. So, yeah. 60. Everlasting Darkness. It does 30. Okay, so it did 40. So Everlasting Darkness does 30 base. So it's only 50 damage. Either way, it's not a knockout. Just good to be aware of that. But that does also keep the Gardevoir player item locked, which allows Houndoom to keep going. So we do see Green's Exploration looking at that level ball with a little bit of lust. Getting that Houndoom. Going to make sure it's in the deck first. There is the Houndoom. Okay, so going for the level ball, definitely going to get that Houndoom then. Choosing the second card to get off the Green's Exploration. Going for another Green's Exploration to chain it for next turn. So we do see the Houndoom come down off the level ball. And that second Green's Exploration will return to the Houndoom Bayonet player's hand. Alright. To see Horror Psychic Energy in the Bayonet player's hand. Trying to give a little bit of recoil damage there by the attachment. So if you hit into a Pokemon with this Horror Psychic Energy attached to it, you take 2 damage counters as recoil damage for doing so. And then the Bayonet player is going to just take the quick, easy knockout with the item lock for certain. You don't need the extra damage from Poltergeist. You might get the guaranteed knockout with Everlasting Darkness and keep the item lock in place no matter what. So even if Gardevoir player finally manages to find some way to scoop up something from the bench, the lock stays in place. So, are we going to find a thing? The thing finding does not appear to be going well. Using Guzma to gust up the Houndoom to the active spot. Houndoom has a... Okay, that is good. That is good. Alright, so that is an Imprison marker on the Houndoom. So that does shut off Lonesome. So that is a Pokemon power, or a Pokepower rather, that has been used by the Gardevoir to deal with the Houndoom effectively. We are going to lose the Gardevoir, so that is unfortunate. But that Houndoom shut off, so that part is good. Do you see a Shuppet come down and an energy attachment to the Shuppet? So at this point, the Houndoom Bayonet player is going to want to repeatedly Everlasting Darkness to keep the Gardevoir player from being able to use items, because they'll still be able to use tools and stadium cards at this point, because Houndoom has been disabled. Right, so Green's Exploration is going to find a Muscle Band and a Versus Seeker. So Muscle Band is going to boost that damage on Everlasting Darkness up to 50 to make it take less time to knock out the opponent's Pokemon. And then Versus Seeker most likely to be used to grab another Green's Exploration on the following turn, or perhaps a Guzma. It is going to go in with the Everlasting Darkness. Doing 100 damage there for weakness. So they've chosen to put a Imprison marker on the Shuppet also for giggles. Not really going to do anything, but might as well. So just a pass from the Guardy player. Evolution and an energy attachment from Bayonet. Versus Seeker. For that Green's Exploration, as expected, Green's Exploration is going to find a Versus Seeker to find Green Exploration next turn in that handy-dandy discard pile. And a Green's Exploration. Turns out Green's Exploration is a pretty good card. So Green's Exploration is a supporter card that says if you have no Pokemon in play with abilities, search your deck for 2 trainer cards and put them in your hand. So Houndoom, although it has a Pokemon power, a Poké Power specifically, it does not have an ability, which means Green's Exploration is live. So it looks like the Guardy player is playing an in. So both players are going to have to reshuffle their hands and draw. Based on the prize cards they have remaining, it looks like the Guardy player has all 6 of their prize cards remaining still. And unfortunately, I can't quite see the number of prize cards left on the Houndoom Bayonet player's side. It must be 3, because 3 is the number of cards they drew. And I saw Bayonet, and Raihan. It's quite a weird hand to draw. Alright, so we see basically an in, a pass, an attack, and an in. Again, I had to rewatch that because I had no idea what the heck just happened. It happened so quickly. Alright, looks like we are going to see an attachment, maybe? So we're going to see an attachment to that Ralts and a teleportation burst. Unfortunately, for the Gardevoir player, the damage from Horror Psychic Energy is going to cause that Ralts to knock itself out. So the lulls, unfortunately, were not worth it in that case. And Gardevoir player is going to scoop. Congratulations to the Bennett Houndoom player for taking that tournament. It's a good one to watch. July's is even more interesting. But before we go, let's look at the deck lists from the top 4 players in the June tournament. In first place, Bennett Houndoom. In second place, Gardevoir. In third place, Miraidon X. And finally, in fourth place, Bunnelby Mill. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.